You guys see the AfD victory in Germany?
We also have this breaking news. Several people have been injured after a car drove into a group of people. This is in Munich, Germany, and it's not far from the Munich Security Conference. Local governor is saying this appears to be an attack. Let's get straight to CBS News foreign correspondent Holly Williams at our London news desk. Holly, this only happened an hour or so ago. What do we know about what happened?
Good morning, Errol. Well, just in the last few minutes, the German police held a press conference. They say that at least 28 people were injured, including some children, 2 people seriously, after a man drove his car into a crowd at about 10:30 this morning local time at a square near downtown Munich. The police say that they have now detained the driver, who they say is believed to be a 24-year-old asylum seeker from Afghanistan.
Classic. Well, it'd be fun to see the poll numbers bump after that one. You think AfD paid him directly, or Jesus? The election's in like a week.
The governor of the region, Bavaria, said the incident is suspected to have been an attack, but we don't have any more details at this point about that man or his motives. Now, the German media is reporting that there were actually 2 people in the car. We're working to confirm that detail. A crowd was gathered in that area for a protest organised by a German union. Now, as you know, there is quite a long list of car ramming attacks in Europe in recent years. In Germany, specifically in December, a car ramming attack killed 5 at a Christmas market in the small city of Magdeburg. And in 2016, a similar...
Which was, by the way, if you'll recall, from a white supremacist who was angry at Christian Germans for being too willing to integrate non-Christian Germans.
Attack killed 12 people at a Christmas market in Berlin.
And we're seeing some footage from the scene where there are objects strewn across the ground. And we know that this comes ahead of the Munich Security Conference.
I feel like you should be honest about this being an actual issue in Europe. I am, or I have been. I've talked about Islamism and jihadism in Europe many times. I'm not one of those, feckless liberals who pretends that it's not an issue. It's just being Hitler won't solve it at all.
Which starts tomorrow. You have a lot of top level government officials arriving there today. How tight is security around the city?
Well, look, the Munich Security Conference is extremely high profile. Vice President J.D. Vance is attending. He's expected to arrive in Munich later on today. Also attending Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Ukraine's...
So why do you being it by insinuating AfD is somehow behind it? What? Because it's politically convenient for the AfD that an attack like this would happen a week before the election. What do you mean? What are you whining about? What's your chat history? Oh, you came in here with a massive chip on your shoulder. Hold on. Afghan refugee did it. Yep, there you go. Explain it away, Vosh. Dude, who are you talking to? Why is it... Why you people always come in here with a script, man? Like, I don't have 20 segments about, jihadism in Germany or whatever the... What are you just coming in here here he goes, tapping your foot let's see the white liberal explain away Muslims. And what are you on about? Come on. German car attack number 51234. Damn, you're keeping track pretty well. Relax. Whoa, relax, bro. It's not me that has a chip on your shoulder, on my shoulder. It's you. Don't comedically call out the obvious bias that I have going into this issue. Relax, globehead. It's just flat earth memes. True.
President Volodymyr Zelensky also expected to arrive in Munich later on today ahead of a meeting with J.D. Vance. Now, it is an annual conference and it is regularly attended by some of the most significant and well-known political figures on the planet, and security in Munich will be appropriate to that. This attack occurred about a mile away from the conference venue, and at this point, we cannot confirm whether there's any connection between the two.
And we want everyone to stay close to CBS News as we learn more.
Do you have any polling data? Yeah. I don't know if AfD is expected to take the majority, but they have been working more with the Conservative Party, and they're currently in second place. They've gone up lately. Die Linke apparently has also lately, so I don't know. Yeah, Die Linke has gone from 3% to 6%, apparently from one clip going viral or something. I don't know. So the CDU, AfD, SPD. I mean, it really just depends on whether or not AfD gets the full coalition, right? Which people are saying maybe, which would be a little bit unfortunate. There's no way the AFD gets a coalition. I mean, you say that the CDU has said they won't coalition with AFD. Well, a lot of people say a lot of things, okay? Oh, shit. We're getting the, Wait, why would you like Nazi post in my donos and also give me a lot of money? Oh, sorry, wait. Let me see this load. I'm fine. Thank you for the 20 euros. I'm really interested in learning more about Islamic crimes in Germany. Do you think you could supply more to me? Thank you for the kind donation. Hey, listen, I'm white. At least the money's going to a place he's okay with. I'm actually wondering if Islamic fascists are intentionally ramping up attacks to push national fascists to power. I mean, bin Laden's strategy was literally to do that. So, yeah. Islamists want Muslims to make a clean break from the Western world. So by ramping up attacks, they, foster and develop, conservative, xenophobic sentiments in the countries they do the attacks in, which leads to more Islamophobia, which means to da-da-da-da, The dono is pointing out how silly anti-Islamic attitude is in Germany. Oh, I didn't read it that closely. Should I read it more closely? Germany numbers in 2023. Victims of Islamist-motivated crime, 1 dead, 4 injured. Victims of gender-specific crimes against women, 360 dead, 578 attempted murders, 52,000 sexual crimes, 180,000 victims of domestic violence. Oh, it wasn't Nazi posting. I'm sorry. A lot of text just popped up on my screen, and I saw the opening, and I was like, I mean, if you want to tell me more, I still wouldn't mind. Concluding strikes again. Well, thank you for getting me to clarify, or I guess getting me to look again. Unban? I didn't ban. I didn't ban. You slandered a poor chatter? Well, a YouTube chatter. Let's not go overboard, okay? Chatter might be a little much. Again, like, it's literally the same that you get anywhere else, like people talking about illegal immigrant crime here in America, where everyone gets their bees in a bonnet about, like, Islamist motivated crimes, but they don't actually give a shit about crime. No one who talks about like Muslims raping in Germany or whatever gives a fuck about rape. And in fact, if you bring up like sexual assault or patriarchy or rape culture, they laugh at you. They don't give a shit. It's like the most obvious transparent hypocrisy in the world. They don't give a shit. They just are racist. They just like the racism. Is it sexual insecurity as always? Oh my God, yes. Have you seen how Western European racists talk about Muslims and Asians and stuff like that? Absolutely it is. 100%. Friedrich Merz, the chancellor candidate for the CDU, literally did the immigrant rape gangs bit from Britain 1-to-1. Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to end up working with the AFD, which means they're going to have a really strong government coalition. Not really Asians that much, I think. Asians to Europeans includes Middle Easterners. They categorize differently. Or whatever, I think. Maybe. The fucking AFD is 21%. What the The Republican Party was like 51% in America, or 50.5%. I'm sorry, I'm fine. Thank you for the 5 euros. I apologize for misrepresenting what you said. I'm sorry. Trying to see if I can find any more interesting data on the polling. 1 second.
Now, the issue of punitive tariffs by the U.S. was mentioned by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz during his last address to Parliament ahead of the federal election. Now, just 2 weeks away. Scholz said that Germany should be prepared for difficult times ahead, with a struggling economy that could suffer further under import duties. He also spoke of the Russian incursion in Ukraine as an ongoing challenge for Germany and Europe. Scholz is running for re-election, but his Social Democrat Party is currently lagging in the polls. And we can take a listen now to what Chancellor Scholz had to say.
If the EU is targeted by American tariffs, as is already the case with steel and aluminium, then we are more dependent on European solidarity than any other country. Do you think this solidarity will be there if Germany willfully breaks European law, if Germany closes its borders?
Wow, boring. I don't care. Yeah, it is crazy how the AFD support literally is entirely from East Germany. It's pretty wild how Hitlerite East Germany is, you know? The Soviets did not prep you guys for democracy. Soviets did a number here, yeah. Probably would have helped if West Germany hadn't treated East Germany like a stinky dog shit that they were poking with a stick after reunification. That probably would have helped a little bit. Just slightly. But wasn't it? It's Europe. You're all stinky dog poo. It's amazing how exact the border is to the actual border. Yeah, I mean, like, the difference was pretty stark, you know? Do you think we should use and promote EU nationalism as a means to push back against US fascism? Yeah. Yeah, go for it. Why not? We're all fucked anyway. The overwhelming popularity of the CDU in basically every area, man. Except for, yeah, it's just the West and East's versions of being Hitler, basically. I think their majorities are eroding, though. I mean, if the CDU and AfD work together, then the left is nowhere even close to overtaking them. Not even remotely close. It's really just a matter of how much they work together, unless there's been like, unless the polls are inaccurate, you know? Like there's a surprise in at the voting booth, you know? I feel like they're co-opting the AfD's language on immigrants because they are liberals paralyzed with fear and without beliefs, but they may not capitulate to the AfD. Those feel like separate steps to me. Maybe. I mean, that's literally like liberals who don't believe in a future are scared and who want to crack down on immigration, kowtowing to the far right. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's been known to happen. The old generation dying isn't going to help either. Young men are Hitlerite as... I mean, it's not like, you know, the SPD has offered them very much. Or the CDU, for that matter.
German voters heading to the polls in less than 2 weeks have the economy and high prices on their mind. According to a survey, German reinsurer R&V surveyed 1,000 Germans online between January 23rd and 25th. 70% of respondents said they worry about the rising cost of living, up from 57% in the summer. Another 68% said they feared an economic downturn. That's up from 48% in the previous survey. But while economic concerns topped the list in the R&V survey, people told Reuters in Berlin on Tuesday that immigration was dominating the agenda.
Great.
For me,
Crazy how long this shit lingers, even though the Syrian refugee crisis ended a long time ago.
of course, the economy, as everyone simply says, but freedom, democracy, and everything. Of course, migration policy is also very important. Almost everything that people talk about.
And I think this focus on migration is really not helping anybody feel more
This is so classic, and this happens in America too. A guy takes a camera, goes to the street, and goes up to a brown guy with wispy facial hair, and he's like, yeah, we have to do something about the immigrants. And then you see the like most pale liberal, you know, like art college student mother the world, and she's like, no, we need to welcome everyone with open arms. You'll see this shit all over the place in like Texas, you know, where you go up to like a white college student in Austin, and they'll be like, dude, America has room for plenty more people. And then you'll go out to like a day laborer, and the day laborer will be like, yeah, I don't know, just feel like too many dangerous people are coming up from the border, you know?
positive in any kind of way.
By the way, because wokeness is back in vogue, we're back to being the counterculture, okay? I stand, all right? Hell yeah.
And I also don't think that by focusing on this issue, we can solve any of the other problems in the country.
Increasing competition from abroad, high energy costs, elevated interest rates, and uncertain economic prospects have taken a toll on Germany. The economy contracted in 2024 for the second year in a row. The dire situation is reflected in the country's storied auto industry, with Volkswagen and others cutting jobs as they look to remain afloat. Disagreements over how to save what was once Europe's economic engine led to the demise of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-way coalition last November and set up the February 23rd vote. The R&V survey showed more than 6 out of 10 Germans consider politicians in both the government and the opposition to be overwhelmed by their tasks. And 3 out of 4 are worried about the polarization of society, up from 48% in the summer. The director of the study said the sharp increase is attributed to a series of high-profile killings in public spaces by people with an immigrant background and how the parties reacted to them.
I don't give enough of a shit to actually look up crime rates in Germany, but I bet you that, as is always the case, it's like, you know, we're hyperfixating on 2% of the crime. The migration rate in Germany has to be way down from before because the Syrian refugee crisis is over. Like, it's 2025, you know?
Here in Germany, a new poll shows some small movements ahead of early elections set to take place in just over 2 weeks from now. The poll, commissioned by public broadcaster ARD, shows conservatives up 1 point at 31%. The far-right AfD is polling in second place, also up 1 point at 21%. And the Social Democrats...
Number of immigrants in Germany from 1991 to 2023 in millions. Is this... total number of people immigrating in? 2.67 million, 1.93 million. I'll admit that's quite a bit larger than I expected. What is Germany's population again? 84 million. I imagine a lot of this is Ukraine, right? Because the big bump here is in 2022, which is when the Ukraine war began. So yeah, this is the Syrian refugee crisis, and then this is the Ukraine war, I assume? That makes sense. They don't care about the numbers arriving. They want those that are here to leave. I don't know what the f it is about countries with a, like, average birth rate of 1.43 or whatever to, like, what the f don't you want your labor base to increase? I don't get it. Preserve your damn German culture. No one gives a shit. You're flanked by countries that have much better cultures. But they're brown? I mean, Ukrainians aren't.
Democrats of Chancellor Olaf Scholz are at 15%. Now, his coalition partner, the Greens, are down 1 point at 14%, and the Left Party is straddling that 5% mark needed to enter parliament.
Refugees have always been a giant red herring. They're very consistently only like 10% of the total migration numbers. Yeah, but they're like the scary ones, yeah.
The Liberal Free Democrats and populist BSW are polling under that threshold. Let's speak to DW's political correspondent Matthew Moore for more on this story. Matthew, some thought that the outcry over last week's parliamentary vote on migration could really hurt the CDU's support, but that doesn't look to be the case at all. Friedrich Merz is probably pretty relieved today, right?
You can bet that he's pretty relieved, Claire. This was a very highly anticipated poll. There had been widespread speculation that the CDU poll numbers would suffer because of this really highly charged debate and this crisis really in Germany in the last couple of weeks. That hasn't materialised, and in fact, as you just said, the CDU have gained a point and the AfD too, and it really does just kind of firmly kind of cements their lead, if you like, in the polls, because there was a big questions whether Friedrich Merz had taken a gamble that wouldn't pay off. And what's really interesting is that you see that he and the AfD gained, which seems to kind of suggest that this issue of having the migration debate in the public eye, right, is something that has helped them in the last couple of weeks. But it's turbocharged this debate in the country. People are really concerned that this
Didn't you say in the past Europeans tend to be more xenophobic as a rule when compared to Americans? Yeah, and that's true. Well, Europeans recognize ethnicity and Americans don't. Americans only recognize race. That's the only thing we see. If you're white, you're white. If you're, Hispanic, you're Hispanic. If you're black, you're black. If you're Asian, whatever, right? Like, we only have broad racial categories. For the most part, we don't differentiate too much between ethnicities. Genuinely, I think the average American wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between a Ukrainian immigrant, a Swedish immigrant, a Swiss immigrant, maybe even like a Danish immigrant, as long as they all couldn't speak English and spoke with an accent. Like, I think the average American would be like, oh, you're like a European,
Open the door to the AfD, and I've actually been out on the streets of the outskirts of Berlin and kind of gauging the mood, and I think we can hear from my report. It's been a messy couple of weeks for Friedrich Merz. On the one hand, he set the agenda with his calls for tougher migration rules.
That's great.
On the other, he's ignited a debate about whether he would form a coalition with the far-right AfD, despite insisting he would not. The pressure comes after he relied on the votes of the AfD to push through a motion on migration, breaking a taboo.
For me, they're Nazis, and I don't want that again. So far to the right, that's not on.
Of course, working together, no way. Merz also said, well, something that he introduces as a motion can't be wrong from the outset just because the wrong people agree.
The fact that it went to parliament and actually people voted
Holy shit, Slay.
And it was not the far right that brought it into motion. It was scary.
These are the biggest earmuffs I've ever seen in my life. This is an insane drip.
I actually wanted to vote CDU, but the fact that he bothered me a lot, quite honestly.
Okay, honestly, you for wanting to vote CDU, but based that you would vote for CDU, and then you were like, oh wait, they work with Nazis, them. It's nice to see, like, principles. Lol, same earmuffs. Those aren't the same earmuffs. These are proportionally larger to the head. They're just black earmuffs. You can see the size difference really clearly. Guys, you're going to have to work a lot. You're going to have to wake up pretty early in the morning to fool me, okay? Also, these earmuffs pair beautifully with the texture, the same matte black of the turtleneck that she's wearing. It's just a masterful fit, okay? I don't want to hear it from you guys. Bigger head? Well, that's part of the styling. Maybe she just has a smaller head. That's part of the styling! They're not the same.
Honestly.
That's the risk for Friedrich Merz, that his attempt to
I think they both look nice. It's not a competition. People in chat were making it a thing.
So the migration issue from the AfD could backfire and raises questions about his credibility, although market traders here support his policies.
You feel you've been left alone, and then you have the thought, close the borders, maybe it will be better.
Closing the borders again, I'm absolutely for that.
The CDU says...
Back in the 90s, Merz voted against criminalizing rape and marriage. Yeah, that sounds about right for a conservative.
We don't work with them, but we get support from this party for the things we want to get done. And that's why I don't really see the CDU as credible.
Others are concerned that border controls could divide Europe.
Oh, I saw this guy in the background.
To create Europe, politicians invested a lot
Average racists be like, this Muslim man doesn't belong in Germany.
of their time, invested a lot of their efforts in it. And if we throw it all away, I don't know where that will lead.
Where will this all end up? For some, the mood in the country, an alarming echo of Germany's past.
For the last 1 month, I felt that this history is coming true. To an extent that I am planning to get my investment so that I'm ready to go.
You're planning to kind of make arrangements?
I'm making arrangements because I also have kids, and it started like that, right, from history. And this is the fear I have.
A reminder that for many, there is much more than an election at stake.
Matthew, a real sense of fear from some of those people who you spoke to out in the outskirts of Berlin. For those who haven't been following the ins and outs of this, what would you say is the main thing that has made them so afraid?
The people that I spoke to, so there was migrants, I spoke to many people, and you know how it is, not everybody gets into the final report, but the sense there was that woman there, that was a genuine sense of fear that something had changed in the last couple of weeks in Germany.
I like how the question is never, how would closing the border help anything? You know, it's always like, we're talking about this policy proposal as though it's some kind of inevitability, rather than like, can somebody please explain to me how any of this is necessary?
Another man who'd been here for 10 years who said that he felt kind of hurt by the debate because the debate has become, especially around migration, it's become very kind of divisive. On the other hand, you had people who'd been here for 30 years, who'd integrated, who said, you know, yeah, I've seen over time how Germany has struggled to deal with the people coming into the country and integrating. So it was a mix, but at the same time, just generally that hurt and that fear is very much there. And you saw it as well in recent weeks. We've had protests across the country, people genuinely concerned that the actions in the Bundestag of Friedrich Merz and the centre-right Christian Democrats of voting alongside the AfD, that somehow just opens the door, not necessarily in this election or following this election, but in the future to the AfD having an opportunity to govern here in Germany.
Now, your report does mention this taboo that's been broken, the question of whether the so-called firewall here in Germany has fallen or has cracks in it. What does the latest poll have to say?
Again, I know I don't follow German politics as much as American because I'm American and America is the center of the world. But it is basically the same story, right? Like liberal respectability politics failing to address people's desires in an era of economic inequality and rising populism. No one feels like there's any place for them in the world anymore. Costs rise while like 5 billionaires reap the profits, so on and so forth. Same in Canada, same everywhere, man. Exact same shit. Yeah. It's just like the AfD is more far right than basically any other Western party that's capitalizing on this development, because the AfD is literally just the Nazi party. It's just the Nazi party, you know? Even worse in Germany, since Germany's economy has stagnated since 2008. It's so f***ed up that the definition of a stagnating economy is like tied in speculation and the expectation of infinite growth, you know? Like, if you have a society where everyone who wants a chair gets a chair, everyone who wants a heart surgery gets a heart surgery, everyone who wants food gets food, who the cares whether or not like the abstract evaluation of the, you know, speculative value of the assets contained within your nation grows or falls every year? Like, the needs are being met. But that's not the world we live in, you know? But in Germany, the social safety net and services are so much better than the US. Yeah, but it's about hope for the future. That's the thing. It's not about like whether or not your needs are actually met, you know? It's about whether or not you hope for the future. It's whether or not there's like a vision to the future that is convincing. And if the liberals are offering you nothing and the neocons are offering you nothing,
say about that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because we here in Berlin, we were talking about this, and it's highly controversial to do what Friedrich Merz did, which was to table a motion in Parliament and say, I don't care if this passes with AfD votes. And it happened, and that's the first time it's ever happened since the AfD got into Parliament in 2017. And that is because we have this firewall, this taboo about working with the AfD, so that the other parties in Parliament say we won't do it because we consider the AfD to be too extreme. What we've seen in the latest poll...
So we can never have stagnation even when things are generally good. In capitalism, no, because capitalism requires infinite growth. Everything is done for the benefit of the shareholder and the investor, you know? It's not enough that an industry merely produce what is needed. They need their expected value, their estimated value has to rise, you know? That is specific to this system. There are plenty of other economic systems that have existed throughout history that have not been like this. The line go up thing, that's the way this has to work. It can't just grow, the growth has to grow. Yeah, it has to grow exponentially, forever and ever and ever.
Is when you look at the numbers, 49% of people asked think that that's completely unacceptable, but 44% think it is okay to go ahead and table a motion, even if you know it can only pass with far-right.
When you say the most
votes.
far-right in the world, do you mean the AfD is more far-right than Republicans? Yes, the AfD is like literally a Nazi party. For sure, 100%. Not really like speaking just to the people in the positions of power, but in terms of like what they represent, yeah.
So it just shows you how split the public is, and that's something I kind of find when I'm out there talking to people on the streets of Germany, that a lot of people find it hard to understand how you can have a party in Parliament like the far-right AfD, who are completely shut out of the legislative making process. So that for them is hard to understand, and for me it's no surprise that that comes through in the polls that we've seen.
And what about CDU leader Friedrich Merz? I mean, he's really tried to clarify his position here, saying that there won't be future collaboration with the AfD. Do you think voters trust him on that message?
I don't.
Well, that was his big gamble, right? He wanted to show.
Yeah, like how Trump said that he didn't actually believe in Project 2025.
Control of this issue of migration, which is high up on people's lists of concerns. But in doing so, he risked igniting a debate about whether or not he would potentially work with the
AfD isn't as far right as some parties in Romania, IMO. I'm sorry, when I said like Europe, I meant real Europe. Romania is its own... Look, no hate to Romania, but hate to Romania, okay? There's not a lot going on over there, and what is going on is not good, okay? I mean, like, you know, like the real world, not... Romania is like the real-life version of those fake countries they make up in Marvel movies so that a big catastrophic political event can happen there without people in real life getting mad and writing letters to Marvel Studios. You know what I mean? Latveria, yeah, exactly. That shit be like where Doctor Doom rules. I'm sorry.
He's been on the defensive in the last week, saying that is absolutely not the case with me. I will not work with the AfD. What we've seen in the polls now is that 44% of people think that he will stick to that pledge, but 43% think he will not. So that, again, there's question marks about his credibility there. Having said that, in the polls at the moment, he hasn't been damaged by that, and he's actually gained. The question is long-term, how that impacts the party and the debate here in Germany.
Well, thank you so much. That is our political correspondent, Matthew Moore, speaking to us today.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. A bald head can look so good. Yeah, I don't know. I agree, but Romania is in actual danger right now. The Romanian far-right leader is now the VP of the EU far-right party, and they're debating invading Ukraine, lol. Whatever. Whatever, man. Sure. Stupid. Like with annexing Greenland. Romania would get washed by Ukraine with all the leftover American equipment they have even before we cut off the funding tap. Are you kidding me? Also with like the ceasefire talks right now. You kidding me? Absolutely not. Listen, okay? How about this? Ukraine cannot retake the Donbass and Crimea, but they can take Romania, right? Rather than moving east, they move south. And they make up the land they lost and more. How about that? Romania couldn't even invade Romania. True. Romania still uses T-55s. I think they should do it, man. I think they should do it. People who think that humans were made by God and intelligent design was the process. Can somebody explain to me getting eyelashes stuck in your eyes? Because I do not think that makes any sense. I don't think that should be happening the way it does.